Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Data Playbook. We're in week 16 and had our Thursday night game, and now we have a couple Saturday games here, so let's go through both of those today. Starting out, we have Philadelphia at Washington, where Philadelphia is favored on the money line with a spread of 7 points and a total line of 44.5. Here's their seasonal averages, and looking through their rankings, you have Philadelphia with not such a great offense this season, with a scoring rank of 18, a passing rank of 22, and a rushing rank of 20. However, defensively, they're a little better, with an allowed scoring rank of 5, allowed passing rank of 8, and an allowed rushing rank of 22. It is interesting to note that their allowed tight end rank is also number 1. For Washington, you have a pretty bad offense, other than their rushing rank of 4, but otherwise it's a passing rank of 24, and a scoring rank of 24 as well. Defensively, it's even worse, with an allowed scoring rank of 26, allowed passing rank of 28, and an allowed rushing rank of 28. Looking at our quarterbacks, you have Jalen Hurts and Marcus Mariota, with Hurts averaging 19.5 fantasy points per game, and Mariota at 13.5. Here's their seasonal averages if you need them. And going through their turnovers, you have Jalen Hurts with 6 interceptions, and 1 fumble lost due to a sack, as well as 2 rushing fumbles this season. And you have Mariota with 7 interceptions, 1 fumble lost due to a sack, and 2 rushing fumbles as well. Looking at their rushing share, you have Jalen Hurts with 25.3% of the rushing carry share, and 24.2% of the rushing yard share. And with Mariota, you're at 12.7% of the rushing carry share and 16% of the rushing yard share. Next, we have our running backs with Saquon Barkley and Chris Rodriguez, with Barkley averaging about 14.6 fantasy points per game and Rodriguez around 6.3. There's their seasonal averages, and the only turnovers this season come from Barkley with 1 receiving fumble. Moving over to their charts, you get Barkley with 63.8% of the rushing carry share and 60.5% of the rushing yard share, with that next largest portion coming from Jalen Hurts with a quarter of all rushing yards and rushing carries on the team. And then with Washington, you have Rodriguez with 21% of the rushing carry share and 20% of the rushing yard share, again splitting between a lot of people who have been hurt and rotated in this season. Next, you have your receivers with A.J. Brown and Terry McLaurin. A.J. Brown averaging 14.6 fantasy points per game, and Terry McLaurin averaging 12.1. Here's their seasonal averages. And since they have no turnovers, we'll go right to the charts. So go ahead and give the video a pause if you want to look through these numbers. But moving into their share, you have A.J. Brown with about 29.7% of the target share and 30.4% of the receiving yard share. And then McLaurin with about 15.2% of the target share and 17.7% of the receiving yard share. That doesn't make McLaurin quite the largest receiver on the team, but that's because he's been out quite a bit in the season. However, with A.J. Brown, that's the largest target share and just under the largest receiving yard share. Your number 2 receivers are Devontae Smith and Deebo Samuel, with Devontae Smith averaging 12.3 fantasy points per game and Deebo at 12.8. Once again, moving over to their seasonal averages, and with no turnovers, we'll go right to the charts, where you have Devontae Smith at 28% of the target share and 32.2% of the receiving yard share, making him the second most targeted, but having the most receiving yards on the team. And then you have Deebo Samuel with 29% of the target share and 26% of the receiving yard share, making him the most productive receiver in Washington. Ending up with your tight ends, you have Dallas Goedert and John Bates, with Goedert averaging 12.5 fantasy points per game and Bates at 2.2. Here's their seasonal averages and no turnovers. So looking at their share, you have Goedert with 21.3% of the target share and just under 20% of the receiving yard share. And John Bates doesn't even get enough to get on the chart, meaning he gets less than 1% of the targets and less than 1% of the receiving yards. And that wraps up all your data for this game. It does seem like Philadelphia should strongly have this game, especially with a much better defense here, and this allowed scoring rank of 5, which is pretty good, which can make up for their about average offense, especially with that closer to average scoring rank, against this much worse defense. The only hope maybe for Washington is this rushing rank of 4 against this allowed rushing rank of 22 to keep them in the game. But again, they still have to get past that allowed scoring rank of 5 versus their scoring rank of 24. So that wraps up the data for that game. I hope that you enjoyed and it was informative. And if it was, leave a like and subscribe. And leave a comment on what other data you want to see in the future. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you for the next game.